Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ministry Mondays with Meg. I'm Meg. I am Reverend Meg Biddle, and I currently serve at ABHMS, the American Baptist Home Mission Societies, in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, and I am the National Coordinator for Ministry Life and the ABPS, American Baptist Personnel Services. I am ABC ordained clergy and have had the honor of serving in two ABC congregations before coming to work here. And I am glad to have you all here. Today, my guest is Jeremy Richards, who is chaplain at Linfield College. So, Jeremy, first of all, thank you so much for being a part of all these shenanigans, this show. I appreciate you and your time. If you would you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. My name is Jeremy Richards, and I am my technical title is University Chaplain and Director of Service Leadership at Linfield University. Now we're a university, not a college, which everyone is making a big deal out of. So I am fairly new at this position. I've been here about a year, and my long title, everyone I feel like at small universities has multiple titles, just like everyone in ministry for the most part. And so I am the chaplain, so I oversee religious and spiritual life. And then I also, as director of service leadership, oversee like community engagement and volunteering. And so I like to say that I get to do both of the two greatest commandments that Jesus talked about, is love God and love your neighbor. And so in one role, I get to focus on loving God, and the other I get to focus on loving our neighbors here in McMinnville. So let's see. Yeah, I've been here almost a year. I'm still figuring it out. And before this, I served an American Baptist church in Portland called Grant Park Church. And that was my first pastorate. So I was there about 6 years, like 5.5 years. I'm originally ordained Cooperative Baptist, but got my official recognition from American Baptist and have really only served in American Baptist context since graduating from divinity school.
We love our CBF folks.
Yeah,
they're great. They're great. I'm working on my DMed at Central, and a lot of professors and staff there are all CBF folks. So we love them. Them.
Yeah. I did my training, my divinity school in the Southeast, and so it was just kind of natural that the Baptist churches there were more Cooperative Baptist, a few Alliance of Baptists, and so it was kind of natural to go that route.
So when you became chaplain and all that long title stuff, were you just at a point where you're ready for a change? How did this kind of, as chaplain, something you'd always wanted to do? How'd this happen?
I think just like any move like this, there's multiple factors. When I first went into ministry, when I first went off to get my MDiv, I thought that I wanted to be a professor. I think a lot of people think that way. And so I went thinking I'd go on to get my PhD. And while I was in my MDiv program, I kind of realized I wanted to have those great deep discussions and explore theology and everything, but I wanted to do it kind of more with normal people in coffee shops and not in classrooms necessarily. Not that I'd be against that in some context, but I didn't want that to be like my one path sort of. But I had really been drawn to the kind of questions that are asked in universities, and as students are making that transition kind of from being under their parents to making their faith their own, and the good and bad questions that come up, the stress, the anxiety, but also the excitement of making that their own thing. And so I'd always been drawn to that context, but I had never really thought about being a chaplain. I'm not sure why, because I went to a small Lutheran school in Portland called Concordia University, which sadly closed down. And we had a chaplain, and I was a student chaplain, so I don't know why it never crossed my mind that I could be a chaplain, but I hadn't really thought about it. I just thought, oh, I've decided I'm not going to be a professor. I'm going to be a pastor, so I guess I go to a church. And I think it was good. Like, I loved my church, and it was a really good fit while I was there. But I just like loved this kind of context. And so early on, like I said, I'd gone to school in Portland, and McMinnville is close to Portland. And so I knew about Linfield, but I had no idea about its kind of religious background, and it's founded by American Baptists. And so soon after I came back to Portland to the church where I was serving to Grant Park, I came here for an ABHMS event. And it was my first introduction to ABHMS. It was my first time coming to Linfield. And the chaplain at the time, David Massey, was here. And I thought, oh, man, I like my church, but if that job ever opened up, I would at least look into it, because that just seems so fun. And then the kind of the longer story is that this position did open up, and I didn't know about it. And I missed it by like 2 days, like the deadline. I missed it by like 2 days. And I called HR, and I was like, please, can I apply? And I tried to, like, I'm American Baptist, I'm in the area. And HR was like, no, you missed it. And so then months later, I was talking to my friend, Erica Marksberry, who's the pastor of First Baptist McMinnville. Yeah. And we've been friends since I started at Grant Park, and we meet fairly regularly. And she's on the board here. And I said just offhandedly, man, I was bummed about that. I would have applied. And she was like, well, we didn't find anyone because the person we asked ended up declining. And so that kind of got the wheels in motion, and I applied, and it worked out. And I think it was also just time for my family, I think anyone who's in ministry knows that it's really hard to work on Sundays. And I have a 4.5-year-old now, and my wife works 9 to 5. And so it was just really hard to like only have Saturday off together. And then inevitably, like Saturday evening, I'm starting to think about Sunday morning and all that. So this is great that I get to be in a context I was drawn to in the first place. I get to keep doing ministry, but I also have weekends off with my family and all that. So so far it's been a great fit.
I'm glad. I told you in our correspondence and stuff that my last call before I came to ABHMS, I was a pastor of a church, but I was there was also a small work college in town that had been founded through the Presbyterians. So like through rules and stuff like that, they had to have somebody that was approved by the Presbyterian church as a chaplain. And so then I kind of got there because the church I was serving was a federated church, ABC and PCUSA. And so I found myself in this chaplain role, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But it was great. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed interactions with college kids. And we did some crazy stuff. Like I had an Easter egg hunt one year. They thought that was the greatest thing ever. I mean, why not? Why not have an adult Easter egg hunt? I wish I would have been able to have an adult Easter egg hunt. We invited the faculty, and if we had students that happened to have kids, yeah, they could bring them too. And we instructed, the students not to run over the younger kids. But, here we are hiding Easter eggs all over the campus. And, the only thing was, the grounds people were like, you better make sure you get all those eggs. I do not want to run over those with the mower. I'm like, yes, sir. So stuff like that was just an escape. And yeah, they had student services and stuff like that, but it just was other stuff. And I don't know about you, but I found that just like being there and being available for people was in a lot of cases enough and what was needed.
Yeah. yeah, it's been really cool to just be a presence on campus and have people pop in. And it is fun to think of all the interesting, fun things you can do. Like I have 3 student chaplains, and so they help me a lot. And they can come up with ideas that are kind of off the wall. But I'm like, if you want to do that, that sounds great. Or like one thing that the former chaplain did was for move-in day, the chaplains would have free hot dogs to give out to all the people moving in. And we kind of missed the boat having that ready by move-in day. But then my student chaplains really liked the idea of it. But they had been doing it on like a little like burner or something. And we just went and bought like this huge hot dog machine. I mean, not a machine, I don't know what to call it, but it like keeps them warm and everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Can fit over 100 hot dogs in it. And so sometimes my chaplains will just be like, oh, there's a football game. We're going to go offer free hot dogs after the football game. Or like we just have this hot dog warmer and we just can take it anywhere and just show up and do stuff, whatever it might be. So it's fun to just like kind of be open to anything. And with them, they're so creative and they live on campus and if they have time in their studies, they can just have an idea and it's like, yeah, let's go for it. We had a Christmas or a holiday party where we decorated cookies and then they watched like the Santa Claus and just anything kind of goes. You can try anything.
Now, are they religious? I mean, I know you said it's not a Christian school, but I mean,
So I am very fortunate to get 3 student chaplains. And when I fill out the job description, I say you can be of any faith. But most students who are of faith here are Christian. So all my student chaplains are Christian because everyone who applied was. So they are, and they lead a Bible study every week. They're helping me plan different events we have coming up. We also have a part-time Jewish chaplain who comes from Portland, and so we've helped like with events for him. He had a little like a Hanukkah informational kind of session, or session's not fun, but he had a little presentation, and so we helped host that. There was a Diwali celebration, and we, along with the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, like planned that and set it up. So yes, the short answer is yes, they are religious.
But the school itself is not, right?
The school is not, no, but it is founded by American Baptists, and I think that they still value those roots. And so, I was like a little worried because the position I think, well, yeah, my position is endowed. And so I was like, am I just there because you're supposed to have it, but do people not really care? And the vice president for student affairs, who was like my supervisor and who I was in.
Don't know what happened.
I don't know either.
We'll splice together. It just said something went wrong. That has never happened.
That's all that said on my end too.
So we'll edit it together, which is
okay.
The beauty of having it recorded. Not a problem.
Yeah. Do you want me to start like with answering that question all over again so it flows a little better?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So you had just asked if the school, you asked for clarification about the school not being religious.
Yeah. So yes.
I'll give it a moment and then I'll start talking so we can splice well. Okay. It's self-religious anymore, but it was founded by American Baptists, and I think that's something that's really valued by everyone here. And so when I first was coming on, I was getting interviewed, I was a little nervous, like, does this position really matter to people? I mean, we're in the Northwest, we're like the Pacific Northwest, it's very unchurched. And I didn't really want to move my whole family and move myself into a new position where like I wasn't making any kind of difference. But I was assured that like, while a lot of people aren't religious and a lot of students don't even know about the kind of religious background to the school, I was assured that it does really value to faculty and staff and those students who are religious. And I've definitely found that to be true. Everyone was really excited when I got here. I'm invited to everything. I do get students telling me like, I was a little nervous to meet the chaplain, but I guess you're okay. Or,
Right.
There's like still that kind of, I mean, we're in the Pacific Northwest, so there's like definitely an aversion to religion. But yeah, I'd say that like overall, the reception's been really good, really positive, and I feel very much like a valued and kind of integrated part of the community.
I'm really glad you've had that experience.
Yeah.
I kind of had that same feeling like, we had to have a Presbyterian, it had to be, so am I making a difference, or am I just here because you got to have somebody and I'm the pastor at that right church, kind of thing. And you have those moments in there, and they may be brief, kind of thing, where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. It does matter, that I am here. It's not a great big, come to Jesus kind of thing, but that you've made a difference in a student's life, and for those, I think it's worth the price. That I think it's worth our salaries, to be there really when somebody needs you, even if it's just you saying, hey, are you okay? And having no idea what's going to come out of their mouth, kind of thing. And then finding out that, okay, maybe they're not, okay. Yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for those moments and people that can do that for the students. So
Yeah, definitely.
have you, so if you have like one of those, this has been my favorite moment in the years that I've been there.
Oh, favorite. Yeah. Let's see. I think it's not one moment, but like a couple where I've had like students who don't have a faith tradition, who are just interested, who have come. I've had the best conversations with those kind of students more than like the ones who already have faith.
Exactly. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and they're just like they're just curious and have all kinds of questions, and are clearly feeling drawn in some way. And it's interesting, like obviously I'm no expert, but I've studied this and been in ministry a while now. And so for them to say like, oh, wow, you actually have thought through, like I've never been able to talk to someone who's thought through these things in a way that didn't feel judgmental or didn't feel like they were trying to push it. And so I think that like is one of those times where you feel like, oh yeah, this does matter, because it's really cool for me to hear them and hear their experience. But then it's also good to be affirmed by them that like, this was really helpful because I didn't have someone I could go to we could have this kind of conversation. So I think that those would probably be like the highlights so far.
So the college that I was at was a work college. I don't know if you're familiar with those.
Mm-hmm.
So students go and work on campus, and pays for a large majority of their tuition. So a lot of these students, come from low income families and things like that. And one of those crazy ideas I got was, I went Black Friday shopping, and took my allowance that they gave me, and then I created a shop, for the students, because yeah, they wanted to take presents home, but that wasn't in their budget. And especially when you're at a work college and you're not getting a paycheck that's going for your tuition, some of them were trying to work jobs on top of their jobs. And so we had like this store where they could come in and for a discount price on my discount stuff, buy, and then we had wrapping paper and all that stuff. And then all the money that was collected went to the student emergency fund.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So then it just turned right around and went back into the students. And we had a great reception with that. So yeah, there was buy-in because hey, I'm going to get this for my mom or my brother or my sister or whatever because I bought toys and everything. I took my kids with me. Had a little bit of everything. They're still paying money for it. They're wrapping it with love, and they can say that it genuinely came from them. I'm just not giving this out, so it meant so much.
Yeah.
So that was like that and the Easter egg hunt were really like two of my like favorite moments doing because I was there for 3 years. But and I think once you like just get there with those students, I'm sure it's probably the same thing with you. Once you just start like being there and listening, kind of think you kind of figure out what it is that they, or at least you have an idea, like what they need.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also like smaller experiences, like offhanded things that happen that still are meaningful. Like I had one student who never talked to me about, so will never talk to me about religion. So I'm in like a bigger office. So next to me is the office of, or the director of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then the next office is the director of student activities. And we're all kind of on this side of the room. And then there's like a big open room where like our student workers come, where students can come and hang out. There's like couches and a table and stuff like that. And so one of the other student leaders was just here, and I mean, they know that I'm a chaplain, but that's it. And we talk about music and random stuff, but never talked about anything faith related.
Mm-hmm.
And then they asked me just offhandedly or out of nowhere, they were like, I feel like I only pray when things are going badly. But like, how do you pray what do you say when like, I don't want to just pray when things are bad, sort of a thing. And I don't know like who they pray to or what their background is, but we got to talk about that. And then it was like a 10-minute conversation. It was good. And then I haven't heard anything about that from them since then. But like there's just those little moments where like just being a resource and being available. They don't all have to be like a super deep, come to Jesus type moment. It can be smaller things as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I agree. And could you, I don't know, when I was serving as pastor, I don't think I ever had anybody in my congregation that was honest enough to say something like that. Like, yeah, I'm great at praying when things are going wrong, but what about when things are all good? How do I even do that? I mean, that's a great, wow. I mean, letting you in there, that's beautiful, really.
Yeah, and I think just the getting to be with around students in the normal day to day, which is another thing that was something that made me not want to be a pastor from like when I was in college and I was considering career paths. So I was like, I don't really want to be stuck in a church, and that's of course not to devalue what pastors do, but it is a challenge that pastors have, I think, and that I had is like, if somebody's going to come to me to have that kind of question, they're going to probably get in their car or at least walk down the street, have to knock on my door, come in and say, I have a question for you. And then it seems like a big thing, even though and so if it's not a huge thing to them, they're probably not going to do it. But if you're just around a student or, whoever you're ministering to day in and day out, it's easy to just have an offhanded question, and now that I'm thinking of other examples where other student workers just, they just ask me something. And again, it's like not a long conversation, but it kind of is getting into some deep stuff.
Yeah. And it surprises you, doesn't it? I mean, in great ways.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's like, I think for better or worse, my assumption is that nobody wants to hear anything religious from me. So I'm just like going to be nice. And so I'm not trying to like force those conversations. Mm-hmm. And so when the student brings it up, which is what I want, it's always like kind of catches me off guard because I don't know, maybe we could, not to turn into a therapy session, maybe I said something about me, but I'm just like assuming people don't want to hear about it. And then it's great when they bring it up.
No, I agree. I mean, I think I kind of answered with the same kind of attitude. Everybody knew that who I was. And, no, I'm not going to just start with the posture of prayer and I expect to see you at church on Sunday. Although that was my congregation's expectation was that, oh, well, you're the chaplain. Where are all the students? Why aren't they coming?
Right.
Now, our church was in the community, did things in the community, dinners and had a cleanup day where they'd go to different sites and they'd paint and they'd all that stuff. And invite the students, ask the students to come and help feed people at a free dinner, ask them to come paint at a nursing home, things like that. Absolutely. They would do that. They'd show up early on a Saturday morning to do that. But ask them to come on a Sunday morning? Are you kidding me? Nope. Wouldn't happen.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me, it's interesting that the churches here do most of the like outreach to the houseless community. Mm-hmm. And so I almost send people to the churches more, not almost, I do. I send people to the churches more in my director of service leadership role than in my chaplain role.
Yeah.
Because people will come, because that's my job, is people come and they say, either I want to volunteer or I need to volunteer for my hours for class or for my sorority or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, St. Barnabas does meals every weeknight for the houseless community, or First Baptist has a warming shelter every Friday night or every night that it's too cold, or the Co-op, which is like a Methodist Lutheran church, they do Saturday morning breakfasts, and the Presbyterian church does Wednesday breakfast. I think, so I end up getting more, sending students to churches more for the service they're doing in the community. Then, I hardly ever have students come to me and say, like, I don't know where to worship. Where should I go? Because either they're not interested or they met another student here and they know where they go, or, whatever it might be. I just don't have that very often.
Yeah. It was bigger expectation for my congregation than it was students. Totally. Like, hey, I want to go to church,
Which is, I feel for congregations, I've had a few pastors and priests say, like, we're not trying to force, like, I don't have the kind of why aren't students coming, but more like, we want to know how we can serve the students. And if you ever need our building, or if you ever need, they don't know how to engage. And I'm still working on that, because they care about the students and they want to be a positive influence, I think, without kind of just wanting to get numbers or something. But I have to figure out how to foster that relationship.
It'll come. One of the things that and again, this is small town, so the churches would go, could we feed your students? Okay. Is there, there's not like a mandatory Bible lesson or anything like that? Is there strings attached to this? Nope. We're just going to feed them. We could offer a blessing beforehand if that's okay. Okay. We can offer a blessing. So, and they made connections, but it never really went beyond, great, thank you for feeding us, we appreciate it, kind of thing. So it's hard. It really is. I think especially with the generation that we have now, the church is just not. I had one student go, could I get a Bible? I've never owned one. And it just was like, what? You've never,
Yeah.
what? Of course I can get you a Bible. Let's talk a little bit about, let's go a little bit more in here and find out, what kind I need to get you. But what? No. I was just, I guess that's part of me growing up in the Midwest and all of that is just going, how did somebody never have a Bible? And taking, privilege and all that stuff for granted. So, um, yeah. That second role you have beyond the chaplaincy, can you say more about, like, so is that really just voluntary coordinating kind of thing? What does that do?
I feel like probably it's kind of funny. I feel like I spend more of my time on that role, but I feel like I'm recognized more as the chaplain. So like if people will more regularly just refer to me as the chaplain, right? But then my day to day, I have 3 student chaplains. I have 4 service leaders.
Okay.
And the biggest thing that we do is we run the food pantry on campus, the Wildcat Food Pantry.
Oh, nice.
And so that has gotten more and more popular. And so I actually had to hire an extra person. That's why I have 4 instead of 3 service leaders to help with that. So now I have 1 student leader who does like bigger picture stuff and raises awareness and does events and tries to get donations and works with our like Office of Alumni Relations and all that kind of stuff. And then I have a student service leader who actually stocks the pantry every week. And currently right now I'm trying to build a relationship with our local, or a partnership, become an official partner of our local food bank so that we don't have to keep buying all of our food. So that's like a big part of it, is just once my service leaders get all lined out, I mean, I don't have to do a ton with that, except for like right now we're in Jan term and I'm helping to take care of it while they're gone. But then I try and build relationships with organizations in the community. But again, I have 2 of my service leaders, they more like coordinate volunteer opportunities. So one of them does on campus. So they might do smaller events that are like, come by this space at this time and we're gonna like write letter. They did a thing to write letters to kids in hospitals over Christmas.
Nice.
Where they did another one where they decorated spaces in all the halls. So that's like on campus stuff. And then I have one who oversees off campus, and they're getting to know like the local Habitat for Humanity, the connecting with the churches who are doing different things. There's like an animal shelter, whatever it might be. And so then the idea is, hopefully, if like we have had a class comes and says, hey, we want to volunteer as a class, we can say, well, I know that this place is looking for big groups of people to come one time. Or if a student says, I want to volunteer over a longer period of time to get hours over the course of a whole semester, a whole year, then we can say like, oh, well, this place needs a volunteer to help run the cash register, or whatever it might be. So it's kind of like matchmaking between individuals, groups, and then on campus, and then the community beyond the campus.
That's
and then we have pre-orientation programs, and I run one that's based around community service. And so first year students come a week ahead of time, and they get to know the area and know about Linfield through service. And so we did like fun stuff like a ropes course, but then they've also volunteered at a local farm that focuses on sustainability and outreach. So they have like a food pantry based on the things they grow. Another group volunteered with Habitat for Humanity, and another group volunteered with it's like a youth respite home where youth who are going through some stuff can go and have time away, basically. And the funny thing about that week is that it's heavy manual labor, and all the students are not really ready for that. And all of the jobs were like sweating, and it was August, it's just hot and everything. So they definitely like have their work cut out for them.
Yeah.
So some of what I do in the other role.
I think those are two great roles, honestly.
Yeah.
I think they're great. I think they're fortunate to have you, um, and I'm glad you've found a place where it sounds like you're feeling pretty fulfilled in your calling.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I love that. And Erica, I love Erica Marksberry, by the way.
Yeah.
She's awesome. Um, so do you have any are there any projects or anything like that coming up that you need support for or anything like that? Or is it just something like this is what I do and just support us prayerfully kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that comes to mind that's coming up is not really it is more support prayerfully, is just I'm planning an interfaith event based around what we in the Christian tradition would call creation care, but earth care, environmental care. And it's kind of turning into a big thing, I hope. It's always like, but I went to a very Christian university. Then I went to divinity school. And so everyone cared about theological discussions. And I don't know here, but I have gotten the buy-in from numerous professors and departments to get their students to come. But the service will start with, we have a Buddhist representative, a Muslim representative, a Jewish representative, and a Christian representative. David Wheeler, you may know, is coming to speak and represent the Christian tradition around earth care. And then we're going to have dinner, and then we're going to end the night with a short Tu B'Shvat service, which is the New Year of the Trees in the Jewish calendar. And our Jewish rabbi is going to lead us, our Jewish chaplain, Rabbi Mel, is going to lead us in that service. And like a Jewish faculty member is going to teach us songs around that.
That's cool.
And yeah, so I think it's going to be really fun. There's going to be kind of an educational part. There's going to be an interactive part. There's going to be food. And so that is like the biggest event I am kind of like on my own taking on. And that's coming up mid-February. And I'm like excited and a little nervous. Like I hope people show up and I hope it all comes off well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a house on campus that's the ministry house. And luckily there was some funds set aside, but we are renovating that because it was old. And I mean, it's great to have a house, but my family and I actually lived there when we were transitioning out here for a little while, and it's got a funky smell. It's got old furniture, like all that, and we're renovating it. We are, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking for opportunities to help my student chaplains themselves develop and explore their call and all that. And so basically that's just to say that I don't have like a specific thing that I'm raising funds for, but historically churches have given, and that gives me funds to kind of pursue some of these different things, like renovating the house, it's called the Emmaus House, renovating the Emmaus House, or putting on programs here that otherwise I wouldn't have the funds for, and that sort of thing.
So we'll just encourage our folks that may be watching that are already supporting through giving to their colleges to continue to do so, because
shout out to American Baptist Churches of the Central Pacific Coast.
Yes,
shout out to FBC McMinnville, FBC Astoria. I'm probably missing someone, but those, I mean, Astoria and McMinnville, I know I get donations from them, and I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, that's fantastic. So shout out to you at FBC Astoria and McMinnville, and give us grace for if we forgot somebody.
Yes, please.
But you can put, in the comments below what your church is, and we'll go, yeah, you, sorry.
Right. If I forgot you here, you should still get a thank you card, because I try to write thank you cards to everyone. So
yeah. So still, forgive us. Just write us a little note at the bottom. Yeah, it's us.
Yes.
And we'll say, oh, thank you so much, and we're sorry we forgot you. We'll give you a shout out in the comments below is what we'll do. So as we kind of wrap this up, the joy question that I warned you about, So think about all you do, whether it's in your role at the school, your role in your family, whatever. But what brings you joy?
Oh yeah. Watching Premier League soccer with my daughter is the best.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, she isn't always in the mood, but like she's pretty into it, and Chelsea's my team, and she has her own Chelsea kit and everything. And sometimes she has no interest, but sometimes she wakes up and she's like, "Can I watch soccer with you?" And then she puts on her Chelsea jersey, her Chelsea shorts, her Chelsea socks, and then she sits and watches with me. And that's like the best. Like, I'm not worried about work or anyone else, and see her like being into it. That's probably my
Now, does she
happy
play
place.
little kids soccer or anything?
Yeah. So no, not yet, because this is the hard part. We were in Portland and now we're in McMinnville, and so there's much more limited options. This is like more than you need to know, but we went to sign up for like spring soccer in December and it was already full. So I gotta find a way to get her into it, but
And do you coach?
I don't yet.
Okay.
Yeah, when she's older, maybe.
So just so everybody knows, I know nothing about soccer, and they guilt tripped me into being the soccer coach. And so I'm reading Soccer for Dummies.
Okay.
But they're like the kindergarten kids.
Yeah.
And where you're not technically supposed to keep score and all that stuff. And you're going, our goal is this way,
Yeah.
this way. And the ball would go out and you're going, that's our side out, right?
Yeah. That's some Ted Lasso stuff right there.
It was I would ask plead with my congregation not to ever show up because
Yeah.
but I kept my jersey. Just
Awesome.
as a reminder, and we were Dortmund was what our soccer team was. But of it was fun and horrifying all at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm glad you have that with your daughter, and I hope that you are able to get her on there, and in your spare time.
Yeah, I hope so.
Coach a team.
Yeah.
Coach a team, because I mean, at least you'll get it, which was better than me, because I grew up in the middle of a cornfield. We weren't big enough for a football team, and we didn't have soccer. So,
have you watched Ted Lasso?
I have not.
You have to watch Ted Lasso.
Okay, I'm okay. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah. And it makes you. And I'll just say that I was told to watch it by church members, and then I watched it. But everyone I know, I don't know anyone who's watched that show and didn't love it. And it's basically like he's a football coach in the U.S. and he gets asked to coach a team in England, and he doesn't like know anything about soccer. So you would relate.
Okay, so if you get an email later from me that's like, Jeremy,
what was that show?
I'm how many episodes in? And
right.
Yeah. Just be warned, you may get an email from me about my Ted Lasso then, because I'm out of current stuff to watch. So
no, there you go.
Well, I thank you so much, Jeremy. Jeremy Richards, who is at Linfield University now. Yes. I appreciate you, your ministry, and you giving of your time to do this, and to care for the students and your community.
Of course, thank you. Thanks for having me on. It was really fun.
And we thank everybody for watching, and thank you for ABHMS for allowing me to continue with these shenanigans, because it just brings me joy. So thanks everybody for watching. New episodes are Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern time on Facebook, on ABHMS and Judson Press. You can catch them anytime on YouTube or Ministry Life. So thank you so much for watching.